You hear a lot about recounts, but the reality is recounts usually will change the final count, but they will only change the final count by a handful of votes. Unless it is a very, very close attention, a recount is really unlikely to make a difference. And it's also important to remember that even though there is a mandatory recount provision in for state offices where the result is within 0.5%, there is no similar requirement for any other office. So if you're a candidate for Congress or state legislature or what have you, if you want to recount, you need to follow the very detailed and arduous process that is set out in the election code. And I can tell you it can be very difficult to execute if you don't have a plan in place beforehand.
Can you elaborate a little bit on why it's so difficult?
Well, so if you want a recount, for example, in a state legislative race, you need to file hundreds of different recount petitions simultaneously, and you need to get hundreds of different voters lined up from every area of your district to sign on to a recount petition. And that can be a very tall order if you have not thought about this before the election. I've received calls sometimes from candidates who are in a very close race and they want to know the process for a recount. But if the deadline is in 2 days, you're not going to be able to execute that strategy in time. You simply don't have the time to get everything you need in line to do it.
Other than recounts, what are some other issues that might arise this November?
So I think third-party ballot access is something that has been an issue in the last few elections and will likely continue to be an issue. We litigated a third-party ballot access case in the Supreme Court last year, but as the courts have started to reduce the requirements for third-party candidates and independents to access the ballot, you've seen more litigation on what exactly those requirements are and the strictures surrounding those requirements.